Very good evening to all of you, and I'm myself Sanjeev Sahu from Macleod Pharma. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you for a financial risk mitigation webinar series. Friends, first session, we have Mr. Deepak Mehta has explained about the myths about the financial wealth creation. And in second session, Mr. Amrish Balinga has explained about equity market and the stock picking ideas. And today we are going to learn about the asset allocation and the risk profiling. And for today's, before I will explain, I will introduce Mr. Ajay Mittal, who is our today's speakers. First of all, I would like to tell everyone during the presentation we have the polling questions, and you in the right hand side there is a polling option. So all of you is request, you can poll, you can vote for your answers, and we will display in the presentation after some time. So today's topic, the asset allocation and the risk profiling, I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Ajay Mittal. Mr. Ajay Mittal, he is having the experience of more than 20 years, and he is working with the various companies like Jindal Group, Indian Express, Bombay Stock Exchange, and Aditya Birla Group. And he has done his financial economics along with the post graduation in the management, commerce, and the economics. He is into the financial training from last 15 years, and he is visiting faculty for the various management college across the India. He is working with SBI Mutual Fund as a vice president and the head of the knowledge management. So today, Mr. Ajay Mittal sir is going to take you through the financial risk profiling, asset allocation, how we are going to do that. So I would like to welcome Ajay Mittal sir. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Thank you very much. And now we will be starting the session. I will just share the screen on how to diversify diversification, asset allocation, and how to do a risk profiling for the investment purpose. So here it is. Just a minute. So when we are talking about the investment, basically the investment is pertaining to the wealth creation. And when wealth creation, talking about the white coat investors like you, so it's like a financial prescription for doctors. And like the way the people are doing healthy habits, you are prescribing the healthy habits. In the same way, the wealthy habits is also very important. And the way you are giving the suggestions to people or serving the society, the same way, if you can put a focus more on the wealth creation, I think that would be. So here we are going to have a strategy for achieving your financial goals in a easy way. So today's topic of mine would be diversification, asset allocation, and risk profiling. Why diversification is important, how diversification is different from asset allocation, and out of these two, how these two plays a role in the risk profiling. So because the risk profiling is very, very important. And along with these three, we are going to discuss on our impetus would be on the financial goals. So how financial goals are important in making the asset allocation and diversification better. Okay, so if we see the quote of this, I will tell you how to become rich. Close the doors and be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. This is the fantastic quote by Warren Buffett. So in this quote, he has defined how the people behave when the markets are going down, and how the people behaves when markets are normal. So like people are generally very, very fearful. Like the way if we see in March 2020, the market Nifty went down by almost nearly 80 to 70%, and in Nifty went down from 14,000 to 7,500. So what happened? The people started selling their mutual funds, selling their equity holdings, and you see in the preceding 1 year, the Nifty has risen more than 94%. So that is how when the people are very, very fearful, the people should at least they should not start selling. So the investment, generally people should have to take into mind that whenever the people are investing, they should have to keep a goal towards those investments. So accordingly, the people won't be able to panic when the markets are going down. So if you see, this is the list of the richest people in the world, and Warren Buffett is coming in the 7th place, and he started investing at the age of 11 itself. And the investment he has made on those things which he generally consumes. He sees people who are consuming the things in a better way, and he started buying those businesses. So in this, because he keeps the investment with a patience, and that's how he created a wealth. So that's how, if anyone who is investing in the market, like I saw the market rising from 3,000 to 50,000, and now it reached to 50,000, 52,000 also. So that is how it works. If you have a patience, then one should have to get into the market in that way. So taking control of your financial future is very, very important. Whenever you are taking control of your financial future, then it makes things better for you. Now, why do we save? Generally, whenever we are saving, we are giving a particular goal to those savings. So what can be those goals? It can be buying a car, it can be buying a home, it can be children's education, child's marriage, retirement, vacation, medical emergency, or other family obligations. So, but for the people like you, might be you would be having a goal like this. Okay, like having your own clinic or hospital, saving for those goals. Okay, but how to achieve these particular goals? Like, you need to identify your goals, then you need to assign the priorities towards those goals, and with these priorities you should assign the timeline for those goals. So like, if anything which you are having which you are having on the goal side, if you are not having a timeline for those things, then automatically that will not make a proper sense for those goals. So then assigning the timeline leads to assigned amount. So like, if suppose I'm taking an example of, if you are saving the money for your retirement, so that you identified your goals, then assign priorities. Then how much importance that goal is there for you. So you have assigned a priority for that. Yes, this is on my higher priority list. Then if you are suppose if you are 30 and you want to retire at 50 or 60, so you have assigned a timeline of 30 years towards that. And how to assign the amount towards that, I will show it to you, how the compounding works, and you can put the amount also towards that. Like, if today, suppose if you are saving it for the retirement, you should have to keep into mind that if your total monthly expenditure is 30,000 or 40,000, it won't be like that after 30 years your same expenditure you are expecting. So might be this 30,000 would leads to 4 lakh rupees per month, uh, uh, considering the inflation into picture. Okay, so that is how this works. Identify goals, assigning priorities, assigning timeline, then assigning the amount towards that. Now, uh, we are going to have the poll. The following is not the reason for investments. So what are those reasons? To prepare for retirement, to fund higher levels of current consumption, to fund higher levels of future consumption, to fund children's education needs, or to save up for a down payment on a house. So might be out of these A, B, C, D, E, 5 options, you need to choose one option. Over to Karan. Yeah, now poll we are having. So if we see the options, the following is not a reason for investing. So like majority of the people you have said it is current consumption. Yes, very true. So you are not preparing it for the current consumption generally, because for future consumption generally we are saving it. That is right. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So now moving forward, like what does inflation do to your expenses? So if we see the impact of inflation, so what inflation is doing, the expenditure which is having today like 10,000 rupees, after 30 years, that same expenditure would be rupees 1,627,000. So inflation eats out the value of your money. So you can see it over at today, it is 10,000. 5 years down the line, the same expenditure which you are the or same things which you are being able to buy today at 10,000, after 5 years you would be able to buy those things at 14,693, and after 10 years the same 10,000 rupees would be you would be able to buy at 21,589, and after 30 years with the things which you would be able to buy at rupees 10,000, the same things you would be able to buy at 1,06,627. So that is how inflation is eating out the value of your money. So that is the reason one should have to invest in such a way that your money should not uh, reduce in the value. Okay, so if you are keeping the money in your safe for 20 years or 30 years, so you are reducing the value every year in that way. So why inflation? Like if you see, the inflation is everywhere, but the most important inflation is your lifestyle inflation. So in lifestyle inflation, when we are talking about, so you are moving from like a simple phone to iPhone, or if you are moving from a hatchback to a BMW or some sort of, so that inflation leads to higher cost of living, and that cost of living makes it inflation or the cost of your goals high on a higher side. So now second is ability to take risk increases with the level of current wealth. If your current wealth is higher, so might be your ability to take risk would be higher or lower. You can just put it on the poll. Poll 2, ability to take risk increases with the level of current wealth. True or false? Yes, fantastic. So ability to take risk increases with the level of current wealth. Yes, it is. So whenever you have a higher current wealth, your ability to take risk also increases. And whereas if you don't have that much of wealth, your ability to take risk also decreases. So that is how your risk profiling also, like, just so that is poll 2. Now, if we talk about the eighth wonder of the world, so compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world. How it works and why it is important to understand this. Like I will just show you one of the Excel in this and how it works. It will give you an idea that longer the periodicity would be there for your investment to grow, and the better it would be. Like compounding, making investing a habit. Young oblique middle-aged people have money, but few know how to manage it. And individuals who start early in their life can become big financial winners. And but generally, people started investing at a later stage, and that's why the compounding doesn't work in that in their on their investments. Okay, so young oblique middle-aged people today are the investors of tomorrow. Like if you see the people who started investing at their young age at 20 or 25, because if they are retiring at 60 or 65, so they are getting a time of 40 years or 35 years to make the money grow in a better way. So that is how, like if you are investing 10,000 rupees, started investing 10,000 rupees at the age of 25 or 28, you would be having a 22 years or 25 years for the money to grow. So if your 10,000 would become very big, the first money, the first installment or first SIP or first lump sum investment in mutual fund, so that would make you bigger. And same with the second, but the last installment which you would be having at age 60 or 65, that will not grow in that way, but the first installment which you have put it, that will make you grow in a better way. A person does not have to be rich to start investing. With a meager small amount, the person can start investing in a bigger way. So like if this is a very unique example. If you see the compounding, so Salman, Vijay, Ramesh and Dinesh, they started investing. Salman started investing at the age of 22. Vijay started investing at the age of 22. Ramesh 24 and Dinesh at 26. So all started investing with the delay of 2 years. So then all are expected to retire at 60. And here Salman is having a 480 months, Vijay is having 456 months. The same is with the Ramesh and Dinesh. Then if we are expecting a 15% kind of return, and if they are investing 1800 rupees, meager amount of 1800 rupees per month, Salman would be having nearly 5 crore 65 lakh, whereas Vijay would be having 4 crore 19 lakh, Ramesh would be having 3 crore 10 lakh, and Dinesh would be having 2 crore 30 lakh. So with a meager amount of 1800, if you are investing it for a longer periodicity, that makes you bigger and that makes your money grow in a better way. So this is the simple example of compounding. You have to make your savings automatic. So how you can make your savings automatic? So SIP, systematic investment plan, is the answer of this. If you make your investments or savings automatic, it will make you a better investors. It will make you more wealthy. Now, coming to the topic on diversification. What is diversification? Why it is important, and how it is different from asset allocation. So when we are talking about diversification, it is the process of investing your money in different asset classes. So like when we are talking about the investments, diversification plays a very, very important role. Like there is a saying that don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you put all your eggs in one basket, if the basket will fall, all eggs will thatch. So that is why you need not to put all your eggs in one basket. In the same way, we are talking it in the investments also. If you are taking 100% exposure in equity or equity mutual fund, or in a particular equity mutual fund like sector funds, if you are putting all money in say FMCG fund, or if you are putting all your money in pharma fund, or if you are putting all your money in large cap funds, or all your money in small cap funds or mid cap funds, or whatever, okay, or all your money in a particular stock, okay, XYZ stock. So, or if you are putting all your money in real estate, if that sector will go down, it will make a very, very bad impact or severe impact on your investments. So if you see the real estate from 2010 to 2013, there was a huge boom in the real estate sector. Okay, but in the preceding 5 years, the real estate sector is not going anywhere. It is not picking up. Okay, and the people are not getting that much of returns the way they were expecting the returns. Whereas if we see the gold, mutual funds, bonds, and FD, like bank FD, the return is hovering near about 6 to 7%, and bonds also it is hovering from 7 to 8%. In mutual funds also there are funds like in equity as well as in debt category. So generally when we are talking about mutual fund, people are thinking mutual fund is all about equity. It is not all about equity. In mutual funds also, like there are instruments where you can put your money in for the shorter period, like 1 day, 2 days, 3 months, or 1 year. But generally the people are committing a mistake by putting their money in equity mutual fund for a shorter period. So in equity mutual fund also, there are subcategories like large cap funds, small cap funds, mid cap funds, multi cap funds, then sector funds are there. That I will just define it to you. I think tomorrow it will be defined in a broader way. There is a different session for specifically for the mutual fund itself. Okay. So diversification is basically don't put all your eggs in one basket, don't put in one asset class or in one particular theme. So why diversification? Like if we see the diversification in foreign securities or international funds helps reduce portfolio risk. How it reduce portfolio risk? When we are talking about don't put all your eggs in one basket. So diversification with foreign securities or international funds help reduce portfolio risk. True or false? Just you can give me an answer of that. Poll, please. Okay, fantastic. So diversification in foreign securities, international funds can help reduce portfolio risk. Yes, very right. So majority of you have given the answer that yes, majority of the people are saying that diversification with foreign securities is there and it diversify your portfolio. Now, so when we are talking about this, we have spoken about diversification. Now, risk profile. So a risk profile basically when we are talking about it gives you a quantification of risk tolerance. So three things are there in that. So a risk capacity, a risk tolerance. Okay, so how a risk capacity and risk tolerance are different. That also I will define it to you. So even every individual has a different risk tolerance. The people who are the people with higher age, they are having a lesser risk tolerance. The people who are having a higher disposable income, their risk tolerance is very, very high. Whereas the people who are say higher dependents or more dependents, their risk tolerance would be on a lower side. So this is the example. This is the difference between risk appetite, risk capacity, and risk tolerance. Out of these three, the risk tolerance is more important when we are talking about the portfolio making. So risk appetite, willingness to take risk, risk capacity, ability to take risk, and how much risk you can tolerate mentally and psychologically. That is your risk tolerance. So means risk tolerance, when we are talking about if the market is going down by 50%, whether you are being able to take that risk mentally and psychologically, so that it will not affect you mentally or psychologically. So out of risk appetite, risk capacity, and risk tolerance plays a very, very important role. Okay. And when we are talking about risk capacity depends on your personal factors like age, income levels, etc. And willingness to take risk. Willingness to take risk is also dependent on asset classes, and investment products also reflects it. So in a risk, when we are talking about a risk taking capacity, is it leads to your risk profiling. And risk profiling, like in the investment pattern, generally whenever we are recommending the funds, or financial planner recommending the funds, what they are doing a risk profiling of the person, and on the basis of risk profiling you would be able to find it out. What I will do, I will share the risk profiling questionnaire with the answer key. If you are getting a higher points in that, your risk tolerance capacity would be higher. So you can do your own test by doing this that risk profiling. And on the basis of that, it will give you an idea whether you are an aggressive investor, whether you are a moderate investor, whether you are a conservative investor. So if you are aggressive investors or very aggressive investors, you need to put your money more in equity, less in debt. If you are a conservative investors, like you can put 60% of your money in equity or 40% in debt. If you are a conservative investors, your 80% of the money or 85% of the money would be in debt, whereas balance should be in equity. If you are very conservative, 95% of your money should be in debt, whereas 5% of the money should be in equity. So that is how it works. So I will share the risk profiling sheet, and on the basis of that risk profiling sheet, you can score your marks on the basis of that, and you can find it out whether you are a conservative investor, aggressive investor, or a moderate investor. So there is another poll in this. An investor should expect to receive higher risk from taking on lower risk. True or false? So investors should expect higher returns. Okay, so investors should expect to receive higher returns from taking on low risk. So I will just define it to you. So when we are talking about investors should expect to receive higher returns from taking on lower risk, it is not possible. Okay, so how can you expect higher returns by taking lower risk? Like it is like if you are putting money on a FD, or if you are putting money on a PPF and expecting a higher return, it is with higher returns, always the risk would be on a higher side. Okay, if you are investing in equity, your risk would be higher, and you are expected to get a higher returns also. So with the higher risk, the higher returns goes in hand in hand. So now asset allocation. When we are talking about asset allocation is very, very important. Why asset allocation is important? It gives you an idea that how the asset classes are being performed, and how asset class is important, why you put your money or allocate your money on in different assets, and how asset allocation is different from diversification. So they are sounding very similar. So like diversification, when we are talking about putting your money in a different asset classes, whereas in asset allocation, we are saying allocation of your money in different assets on the basis of your risk and return expectation. So it is very simple. Like asset allocation, when we are talking about diversification is among all asset classes. Whereas when we are talking about asset allocation, so like when we are talking about diversification, you are diversifying in equity, you are diversifying in gold, you are diversifying in debt. Whereas when we are talking about asset allocation, it is a very granular part. Like asset allocation, in the sense, if you are investing in equity, so in equity, where you are investing your money. Okay, so say how much money you are allocating to large cap, how much money you are allocating to mid cap, how much money you are allocating to small cap, or how much money you are allocating to sectors, how much money you are investing in multi cap kind of fund or flexi cap kind of fund. So how it is important? What is the importance of asset allocation? So importance of asset allocation, basically it derive a superior return from the investments. So if one of the asset class is not performing well, so might be, if I will show you the chart in this, just a minute. If you see this asset allocation chart, in the preceding 5 years, no single asset class is performing continuously on a, it is like from higher to lower. Like in 2015, debt market was performing good. Credit risk fund was doing fantastically well. Whereas in 2016, GSEC, government securities kind of instruments were performing well. In 2017, equity was performing well, small cap. In 2018, gold did or fared well. In 2019, international funds gave up fantastic returns. In 2020, we saw small cap gave up fantastic or superior returns. Okay, so if you see in the out of 10 years, this is the chart of last 10 years, 6 years equity performed very, very well. Whereas in 2 years, the gold performed well. So gold is basically a hedging towards inflation. And whereas in another 2 years, your debt funds performed very well. So out of 10 years, 6 years, the equity performed very well. Whereas if you see in 2011, real estate gave a very good return, whereas in 2012, mid cap and small cap. So the thing is like the ideology behind this chart is one, you should have to allocate your money not only to single asset class, you should have to allocate your money to each and every asset class on the basis of your risk profile. If you are an aggressive investor, put your money more in equity, less in debt, or some part of your allocation of your money should also be in the gold. Okay, so combining non-correlated asset to maintain average returns, that is the important factor which I defined it just now. So better risk return calibration of portfolio is being given by by asset allocation. Like might be if one of the asset class is not performing well, another asset class would perform better. So we have seen in the past or till now, if you have a good asset allocation, you would be able to get a better gains or better returns, and it will ultimately achievement of goals through asset allocation is very easy. Now, Pole 5, asset allocation is defined as the process of deciding how to allocate an investor's wealth among asset classes, sectors, and countries. Asset classes, sectors, and real estate, asset classes, sectors, and derivatives. D, asset classes, or E, only sectors. So like if you see all 5 options are looking very, very similar, but asset classes, sectors, and countries, asset classes, sectors, and real estate, out of these 2, which one is more closer? Poll, please. Okay. So majority of you have given an answer, asset classes, sectors, and countries. And second option is asset classes, sectors, and real estate. So thing is like real estate itself is a sector. Okay, that's why this option is not okay. So the option which is right is asset allocation, sectors, and countries. So real estate itself is a sector. So that's why B option is not appropriate. The first option, asset classes, sectors, and countries. So that is how in countries like international funds can be there, and sectors and asset classes. Now, we are long-term investors, not a short-term speculators. So like we earn regularly, we spend regularly, shouldn't we also invest regularly? So that is why it is very, very important. So if you invest regularly, then automatically you would be able to create a wealth in a better way. So that's why if for a young investors or a middle-aged investors, they should have to they should not have to have a short-term view of investment. They should go with the long-term investment view and on the basis of their goals. So like the important equation in life, income minus expenses is equal to savings, okay, which leads to investments. But generally what happens whenever majority of the youngsters, what they are doing, income minus expenses is equal to loans. But if we take a normal case, income minus expenses is equal to savings, savings leads to investment, and investment leads to achievement of your goals. So wealthy habits, which are these 5 wealthy habits. So like you people are telling all your uh, customers or clients or your patients how to lead a healthy life, what are the healthy habits. So in finance we have a wealthy habits. So what are these wealthy habits? So majority of the people know it, that spend less than you earn, but very few people follow it. So when the well is dry, we know the worth of water. So that is how spend less than you earn is the first habit which one should have to keep it in mind. And the second habit is keep your fixed cost low. So whenever you are keeping your fixed cost low, it will give you a leeway for your better investments and towards the wealth creation. Then create your own budget. If anyone who is in the financial life, if they are creating their own budget, monthly budget or yearly budget or quarterly budget or half yearly budget, it leads to financial discipline, and which makes you put money on the wealth creation path. Then fourth habit is invest according to your goals. If you are investing according to your goals, then it is very easy to achieve those goals. And fifth habit is save early and save often, diversify and save for the long term. So if you save early and save often, if you like, we have seen an example of Salman, Dinesh, Ramesh, and in that what happened, Salman started investing at the age of 20, okay, where he got a huge amount of money of 5 crore, whereas the person who delayed by 6 years, the money was half and it was merely 2.16 crore. So if you start investing early, it makes you better. So do you know the golden rule of accumulation? So the golden rule of accumulation is one, that is start early. So if you start early, if you start investing early, it makes you rich. So long-term high priority goals include some form of financial independence. So as per your thinking, just let me know, long-term high priority goals include some form of financial independence or not. True or false? Poll please. So goal-based asset allocation. So it is very important to find it out. What are your short-term goals? Might be your short-term goals would be buying a instrument, okay. So for your hospital or so, or for some other purpose. Might be your short-term goals would be buying a gadget, high-class gadget. Okay, your medium-term goals would be buying a house, buying a luxury car, or your long-term goal can be your retirement planning, or for your saving for your better life. So short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals should be defined in a proper way, and uh, you can fix the SIP for your long-term goals and medium-term goals in the equity instruments or equity mutual funds. That is how you would be able to achieve your goals. Now, investor profile and asset allocation, that's what I defined it to you. On the basis of your risk profile, you would be able to find it out whether you are an aggressive investor, you are a moderate investor, or a conservative investor. So like for the aggressive sort of investors, you should invest more in equity or equity mutual funds and less in debt. So because why less in debt and more in equity? Because it shows if you are an aggressive kind of investors, you would be able to take a risk in a better way. So your risk tolerance would be higher in this case, but your risk tolerance would be very low in the case of the risk averse and the conservative investors. Whereas in moderate growth, your risk tolerance is like a little bit on a medium level. So medium level in the sense, in this kind of investments, 50% equity or 60% equity or 40% in debt. So in conservative, your risk tolerance is lower. If your risk tolerance is lower, what you should have to do, you should have to invest a higher amount in debt kind of instruments. So debt kind of instruments in the sense like corporate bond fund. Okay, you can invest your money in long-term bond funds. So you can invest your money in the, say, FMP, fixed maturity plans. So which is like equivalent to say FD, but in those fixed maturity plans, you are getting a benefit of indexation. Okay, so in risk averse, your 95% of your money is getting into the debt instruments, whereas less in equity, very less, in meager amount of money would be invested in equity. So whereas in aggressive growth, if you are an aggressive investor, you are putting all your money. So like how you should put your money in aggressive plan. So if suppose if you are investing for more than 10 years or 15 years, you can go for small cap and mid cap kind of fund. So where the risk is high, but in the long term, the risk would be lower in that. If you are going for 10 to 15 years, you can start your SIP in mid cap funds as well as small cap funds. Whereas if you are kind of investors who is investing for say for 5 to 7 years or 7 to 10 years, your horizon is, then you can go for multi-cap or flexi-cap kind of fund. Suppose if you are investing for more than 5 years, nearly 5 years, you can go for large cap funds. So large cap funds are those funds where the money is being invested in large cap companies. So which are large cap companies like Lupin, Sun Pharma, HUL. These are like Reliance Industries Limited. Then you have Infosys, you have Wipro. So all these companies are coming in the large cap categories. Okay. So that is how you put your majority of the money in aggressive growth. So these are four type of investor profile and asset allocation can be done in this way. So asset allocation works like a seat belt in a car. Just that you don't crash your car every day doesn't mean that you stop wearing it. One crash is enough for your portfolio to die. During bull run, many people forget wearing a seat belt. So that is how the asset allocation works. So that is all from my side. I welcome you all for any queries, any questions. You can pass it on to Mr. Sanjeev. Mr. Sanjeev, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for your detailed explanation about compounding and asset allocation, investment habits, and golden rules of accumulation and all the details. So, sir, today I thought we have two questions. One from Mr. Dr. Viraj Shah. So he's asking, in the current scenario, what should be the recommendation for equity allocation or should be the debt? His age profile is 48, so he just want to know the asset allocation.
Okay. So the asset allocation, Miraj, would be at this. The first thing, whenever you are putting an investment, you should have to focus it from the perspective of one thing. What is your goal for your investment? What is the horizon for your investment? If suppose if you are having a horizon of 10 years, obviously you can't go with debt. Okay, so the majority of the money you should put in small cap and mid cap kind of fund. And whereas, sorry, so whereas if you are having a horizon of say 5 years, so you can go for any large cap funds. Whereas on the basis of asset allocation, it's totally depend upon your risk profile. Like you said, you are 48. So generally, in a layman's language, when we are calling it 100 minus age is equal to equity. So 100 minus 48 is equal to 52% you can put it in equity, and whereas 48% you can invest it in debt. And it is not like that it's the only rule that you should start investing 100 minus age. But if your risk taking capacity is on a higher side, if you are wealthy, then you can have like 120 or 130 minus your age can be in equity. Okay, so it's totally depend upon your risk profile. But if you have a horizon of 10 years of investment, you can go for small cap and mid cap. If you have an horizon of 5 years, you can go for large cap. If you have an horizon of 7 to 10 years, you can go for multi cap oblique flexi cap fund kind of fund. Or kind of if you have say 4 to 6 years, you can have a balanced kind of fund where the money is being invested in equity and debt, 65% in equity and 35% in debt. So this is my recommendation for you.
So there is another question from Mumbai.
Yes.
So here he's asking like the doctors are busy in their daily routine work. So is there any product solution from the AMC side which can easily tackle the asset allocation and they can allocate the fund according to the market conditions?
Yes. So many fund houses, even SBI is also having dynamic asset allocation fund. So in dynamic asset allocation funds, what our fund managers are doing, what they are doing on the basis of the market scenarios, on the basis of the market volatility. So like if you see in the month of January 2020, we had we reduced the exposure of equity in our dynamic asset allocation funds because we were seeing the market was overheated. And what we did, we reduced the exposure in dynamic asset allocation funds. And when the market went down in the month of March, we increased the exposure in equity. So which gave a fantastic benefit of towards that fund. So that is how it works. So what you can do, you can go for a dynamic asset allocation kind of funds, or if you you have rightly said that you people don't have a time to monitor the market, all that sort of thing. So, but if you have a horizon, longer horizon, you need not to see the market. Like if I'm in this investment market since last 20 years, so I'm not seeing my portfolios every now and then. So if you are investing your money for from a longer term perspective, you just invest it and forget it. Just keep on investing. That's why if you have observed my PPT, you have to make your investment automatic. If you put your investment in an automatic way, the money would be reduced from your bank account. It will put it more units toward your portfolio every month, and you would be able to generate better returns towards that. So there are solutions like dynamic asset allocation funds. There are solutions like retirement funds also. There are solutions like children benefit fund also. So there are funds which can percolate your goals, which can give the benefits towards your goals.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So is there there's another question is like he want to know is like they can easily buy the equities of Indian equity market shares, but they don't know how to participate in the international stocks. So is there any solution for international fund, and what are the taxation for the same, or is there any lock-in period?
Okay. So fantastic. So a very good question. So what you can do, a direct exposure, I don't recommend to take a direct exposure. So like many fund houses are having international funds where they have taken international equities in like Alphabet and all that. They have taken an exposure towards that. So for an individual taking a direct exposure, because uh, as some of you have already mentioned that you people are so busy, and it's like, and even I don't recommend uh, the direct equity exposure for the people who doesn't have a time. So why? Because you are not being able to monitor the market in a proper way. And if you are not being able to monitor the market in a proper way, if the market would go down and you are busy in your practice, then what happens to your portfolio? You won't be able to sell those portfolio. And the moment uh, there would be a crash, and because you are having a direct exposure towards equity. But what happens in the case of the mutual fund? It's not like that I'm from mutual fund, that's why I'm saying that mutual fund is a better option for investment. Why it is better? Because uh, somebody is working for you. If you're buying a mutual fund, you, instead of working instead of you working hard for your money, somebody is working for you with a meager amount of hardly less than 1% of fees, and which is very, very minimal amount. And so that is how it works. Okay. So if you see in US or in the developed markets, majority of the people who are investing in equity, they are taking an exposure through ETFs, they are taking an exposure through index funds, they are taking an exposure to mutual funds. Okay. So it is like for the elite class like you, it is very, very important to understand the direct exposure towards equity is very, very difficult for you to monitor uh, your investments.
Okay. Okay.
Because lot of factors are there which are being taken into consideration. If the GDP is going down, if the inflation is going high, if the interest rate is going high, if suppose your fiscal deficit is going on a higher side, if your current account deficit is going on a higher side, okay, if your dollar rupee exchange rate is going in some other direction. So all these factors will make uh, uh, your equity exposure towards volatility. So if a higher volatility would be there, it will make your life difficult, or your investment life. Okay, thank you. Yes, Sanjeev ji.
Yeah. So, and so what was the taxation for the international?
So taxation for international fund, basically it is a debt. It is like whatever our taxation would be there on the debt side, that is applicable on the international funds.
And sir, is there any lock-in this international funds?
So for different for different funds, there is no lock-in in the particular per se in that fund.
Okay. Okay. And so one more question, and the last question of the day. It is like few people want to know in the current market scenario, the markets are going up day by day. Even today is also it's up. So it's the right time to they should go for a systematic investment plan or for the lump sum one, which you recommend. Should we either go for a staggered manner or in a one day?
So like any market is very good for SIPs, systematic investment plan. So because of how it works, the name for SIP, systematic investment plan, is rupee cost averaging. So what happens whenever the market is going down, at that point of time also, if you are getting a more units, and if the market is going up, you're getting lesser units. So that's why it is called rupee cost averaging. So one should not worry about whether the market is going up and down, whether I should invest or not. Like if you see in the month of March, those people who withdraw their money at that particular point of time in March 2020, they are still sitting on cash. Okay, but they are not being able to enter in the market. So it is better to be in the market, whether if you are investing it gradually with lump sum amount, or if you are having SIP run for that, so that way you can make it. I think that is a better option. So you keep on investing your money through SIP route. That is the best way.
SIP. Okay. SIP is systematic one. So they can,
Systematic investment
in a
plan.
staggered manner, they can invest the money in all the levels of the market and averages investment cost. True, true. Thank you so much, Ajay sir, for sharing your view and sharing the compounding and the different asset allocation, investment habits, and the golden rules of accumulation and all the stuff. And thank you so much for your precious time and for joining with us.
So I think thanks to all white coat investors. So for sparing their time is very precious. So thank you all for a patience hearing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Before closing today's session, as Ajay sir rightly saying, in today's scenario, like SIP investments is a better way in a rising market scenario. So our next session, which we are going to be having on 3rd April, which is going to be presented by Deepak Mehta sir from UTI Mutual Fund, and he's going to explain us about all the mutual funds and the systematic investment tool, how is really work, what is rupee cost averaging, and the financial planning stuff. So stay tuned with us on 3rd April for Deepak Mehta sir's session. And before closing the session, please share your view on